And I'd like to welcome everybody. This is Recovery Dharma in the Spokane Sangha. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators, and I am very, very happy to be here today to share with you some ideas, some thoughts, and a practice regarding the theme that we've been exploring for the month of June. That is something really unique that we do in the Spokane Sangha, where we take Buddhist practices and principles and we explore them for an entire month. And some of these Buddhist practices and principles live outside the Recovery Dharma book. You know, the Recovery Dharma book is outstanding. And if you don't have a copy of that, I highly recommend it. And that particular book focuses on just sort of the fundamental basics of Buddhism. It's a real introduction, and an excellent introduction to what is the foundation, what are the fundamentals of a Buddhist practice, specifically the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, there are many, thousands and thousands of sutras, teachings from the Buddha. There are all kinds of practices that have been handed down through thousands of years now from the Buddhist teachings. And so we have explored all kinds of things outside of just these particular fundamentals, the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. However, for the year, for 2026, I thought it would be fun to explore the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, but I wanted to do it in a reimagined way. I wanted to present these ideas from a more contemporary perspective. I wanted to share with community how the Four Noble Truths, how the Noble Eightfold Path comes alive in me, not only in the traditional language, but also in reimagined language. So that's what we've been doing. And for the month of June, we are exploring the second aspect on the Noble Eightfold Path, wise intentions. The reimagined language for wise intention is to be spacious. When we first stepped onto the Noble Eightfold Path, we began this journey by exploring and cultivating wise understanding. And the reimagined way to do that is to be curious. Now, with that wise understanding, we're now going to deepen our practice and look at our intentions. What's the motivation? What's the intention? But in order to do that, for me, I have got to be spacious in my mind. I have to create an environment in my mind and in my heart that says, okay, Julia, let's let everything arise. Let's be fearless and not run away from anything, not turn away from anything, even the stuff that makes me really uncomfortable, even the aspects of my behavior like avoidance, aversion, the temptation to be sneaky and to even lie, like little white lies that aren't so little necessarily. You know, just those weird little intentions that I don't like about myself. I don't find particularly noble. And yet I know that they arise for me because I'm in an immature mind state and I'm trying to protect something. And why am I in an immature mind state trying to protect something? I don't know. Maybe because I'm human and being human's complex and messy. You know, I'm just going to chalk it up to that. However, having an intention and a motivation, say, to mature, then if that's my intention, I really want to mature. I really want to live from a place that is full of understanding, full of wisdom, full of leniency and openness and curiosity. I have to make space for all of it to arise, including the judgments I have for myself. Oh, fuck, Julia, I can't believe you're doing this avoidance stuff again. Seriously? Like, I thought you were over that. I thought you were more practiced. I thought you were more spiritual. Yikes, look at all that judgment. Let's have some space for it. Let's look at that. Would you look at that? That's the instrument of peace we practice here. Would you look at that? Wow. Right? So today, I thought we would practice together a bit of a discernment practice. Now, discernment is simply the action of looking, deep looking. And in order to cultivate a practice of discernment for me, there are two things that I need. Not only do I need space in my mind, like that's the motivation. When I'm in a discerning state of mind, I know that I'm about to create space around something. But in order for me to create space around something, I have to create in my body a posture of stillness. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Now, please keep in mind that stillness is not always available to us. And so I want you to know that this is a bit of an irony, it's a bit of a paradox. Stillness doesn't always mean the absence of movement. So, for example, I can be incredibly still while I'm gardening. And the reason why I can do that is my focus is highly concentrated. My movement is highly focused too. And for whatever reason, the world around me is not distracting. I hear the bird song, other things are going on, but I am completely focused at the task at hand. I can create great stillness going on a walk. So stillness in this practice is a state of mind. It is to have the motivation to minimize distraction and to keep the mind kind of locked in what we're trying to do. And sometimes for me, the best way I can do that is to move my body, to do something. I garden, I sew, I doodle, I work with my bees. Other times, I can be in a meditative posture that's non-moving. I'm completely still in my body. So I just want to put that out there, that even if you need to move your body, that's okay. The whole focus of stillness is to create a still state of mind. Let's begin that together. However your body needs to be today, invite it to be perfect. That's an instrument of peace we use here in the Spokane Sangha. This is my body today, needing a little movement. That's perfect. This is my body today, seeking stillness by being very quiet and non-moving. That's perfect too. This is my body today, in need of a lot of rest, and I may even fall asleep. That's perfect. This is my body today, and I'm going to enjoy the physical comfort being with my pets or other sentient beings like birds or snakes or lizards or bugs. That's perfect. Breathe the perfection of meeting your body where it is. Today, I'd like to present to you an idea, a word that is used quite a bit in the recovery community. And in fact, it has a very strong narrative. It's a social narrative defining recovery, and it's been around for a long time. And it deserves intensive scrutiny and healing. The word is willingness. In the Western mind, there is an incredible propensity to view everything from a dualistic lens. I'm either willing or I'm not willing. I either have willpower or I have no willpower. It's very black and white. It's all or nothing. It's either or thinking. And friends, we suffer deeply for this state of mind. The Buddhist practice is very different in this regard. The Buddhist practice says this: that's true. Things can be either this or that. Yeah, that's true. Dualism is there for a reason. Yep, that's true. And not the whole truth. That, by the way, is also an instrument of peace we practice in this community, identifying, oh, look at that. That's true. Yeah. And not the whole truth. What else is true? What else is here? The Eastern mind, that Eastern philosophy recognizes that there's both dualism and something else. So I like to think of it this way. If I put it on a linear spectrum, and I'm just going to use my hands, and let's play with the word willingness. Over here, I'm willing. Over here, I'm not willing. True. Absolutely true. There are things in my life that I'm totally willing to change. And there are things in my life that I'm not willing to change. That is true. What else is true? And the what else lives in between those two extremes. And why this is such an important practice. And it's a way of unlearning and healing that dualistic mind. Is it opens up, it creates space for the wholeness and the complexity that is our lives. It's certainly my life. And by doing so, by saying, oh yeah, I have willingness and I have unwillingness. Absolutely true. It tends to neutralize it. Because in the dualistic mind, when I'm in a dualistic state of mind, I'm highly defensive. If somebody says to me, Julia, you're not very willing to do something, and if I'm in dualism, not willing is bad. And I don't want to be bad. So immediately I get defensive. What are you talking about? I'm totally willing. I'm willing all the time. And it's simply not true. I'm not willing all the time. There are things in my life I'm not willing to compromise. And I love that about me. Not all unwillingness is bad, and not all willingness is good. And that's the thing about the Buddhist practice. That's the thing about non-dualism, is it opens it up. It makes everything neutral. We don't have to be defensive. In fact, we can become more equanimous. One of the noble qualities that we cultivate, it's a limitless quality that we cultivate in a Buddhist practice. It's called upeksha, equanimity. Thich Nhat Hanh called it freedom. So I'm neither totally willing, I'm neither totally unwilling, I'm somewhere in between. But I need to understand both. I need to understand the conditions of both before I can settle somewhere that's real and authentic for me. So, I want to invite you to take a step away from the journey of recovery. And my motivation is that sometimes taking a direct approach, keeping the spotlight on our worst negative habit energy and looking at our willingness to change our worst negative habit energy, it can be too much. It can be overwhelming. And so sometimes it's better to just look at something a little bit easier. It's a little bit like, you can think of the metta meditations where we invite someone into our lives that we don't like, and we send them loving kindness. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease. And sometimes that person can't be like the worst person in our lives, the one that really challenges every fiber of our being. Sometimes we just have to deal with, somebody annoying, somebody pesky. That's the easiest way to bring forward a negative individual. This is true when we're working with really difficult concepts like willingness, the willingness to change or the unwillingness to change. Sometimes it's better not to apply it directly to our recovery, but instead apply it to something else in our lives. What is that for you? It's a great question, isn't it? What is something in my life that I'd like to change? Like, I'm willing to change it. Exercising more, eating better, staying in better contact with someone, responding to emails better, returning phone calls faster. I don't know. You're limited only by your imagination, but pick something a little bit lighthearted, something easier. And then the practice is getting curious. Because remember, curiosity helps us gain access to understanding. And to do that, we ask, well, what are the conditions that support my willingness? What are the conditions that don't support my willingness? Because, friends, it's not just about willingness alone. Sometimes there are conditions there that support or inhibit our actions. For example, I'd love to be able to garden more. because I have big gardens and they're very weedy. And I have a lot of will, I have a lot of energy to do it. And there are conditions that support that. Early morning when it's cooler. What negates my willingness is the temperature. I wither when it's hot. What also negatively impacts my willingness is the realization that I'm aging. I don't have the body of a 40-year-old anymore. So my endurance has changed. My willingness is the same, but my capacity to endure the task is different. And I can't judge myself for that. I have, but I'm not going to anymore because the condition in my life is different and I have to go with that. I have to look at it, I have to be honest about it, and I have to do what I can. I told myself a story a while ago, a couple years ago, that, well, I'm just lazy. I'm just not willing. I mean, I want to and everything, but I'm just lazy. And that was actually an unkindness I was telling myself because it simply wasn't true. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't unwilling. I simply wasn't able. And why this is important, friends, is because in the recovery community, I hear so often the judgment toward people who have recurrences, for example, where the attitude is, well, they just weren't willing to really change. They just didn't have enough willpower to really change. And it's just such an incredibly unhelpful thing to say. There's nothing encouraging about that. I haven't met anyone on the journey of recovery who doesn't have willpower, who doesn't have the willingness to change. What I see so often are people who simply don't have enough tools. They don't yet have enough support. They don't have enough understanding. They don't have enough experience. All of this impacts a person's success. But the willingness is always there. And it sits beside, at times, some unwillingness, and both have conditions defining them. The task of discernment is to understand both of those conditions. Let them be, let them inform you, let them guide your mind and heart. I'd like to just take a few minutes of silence and just see if you can hear yourself say with equanimity, I have the willingness to change that. I'm unwilling to change this. Would you look at that? Let me see if I can understand that a little bit deeper. And just enjoy the reflection. Friends, I'd like to take a step toward the conclusion of our meditation today with this bit of information. It is no small thing to create some time, to prioritize time, to understand one's own mind, one's own heart, to take time to quiet the body, quiet the mind, look deeply at our thoughts, allow the mind to wander and to wonder. And the reason why this is no small thing is this. My husband is part of a physicians monitoring program in the state of Washington. So when physicians get a DUI or have difficulty and are reported and maybe their physician's license is at risk or whatever, they join a program where they are monitored, they get inpatient treatment and so forth. And they're monitored for 5 years. It's an intensive program because they understand that recovery takes time. However, one of the curious things that's happening in that physician's monitoring program is about half the people either being reported or self-reporting for support and for help are there not for substance use disorder, but for mental health reasons. Severe depression, severe anxiety, inability to sleep, burnout, and so forth. And so prioritizing time to understand our own minds is an extraordinary act of courage, self-love, profound kindness. Thank you so much for doing that and being here today. You are such a source of inspiration for me, this community, and no exaggeration, the world. Thank you, friends. And with that, I would like to go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. And I'd like to end today with a chant. And I'd simply like to chant to the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The person who was able to awaken from the misery in his own life, said another way. The human being who legend says was able to understand the causes and conditions of his own misery so well that he could see the humanity of it in everyone. That is the awakened one. And he talked about it. He dedicated his life for 40 years to talking about it, to sharing what he learned, to encourage other people. This is the Dharma, the teachings of this man, the Buddha, the awakened one. And he found that more important than his own journey as an individual, more important than his insights and awarenesses, was the community, the Sangha. Because it's everybody's insights together. It's everybody's trials. It's everybody's errors. It's everybody's triumphs together that bring the infusion and luminescence of true healing and maturity. If you know this chant, you can chant with me. It's very, very simple. The words are Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya. Namo means basically, with a wide open heart, I bow. It goes like this. I'm going to chant it 3 times. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya. Namo Sanghaya. May the beauty of this practice find a way in your pocket, in your heart, in your mind, and may it land on your face as a gentle smile and a warm presence. Enjoy this day, your weekend, and I hope to see you next time. Namaste.